This is more technology alliances. Sunir, first off, thanks to Stephen Larson and Kevin O'Brien and Sunir for inviting me today. And definitely a great event and great to be here. In terms of, this is a talk more on technology partnerships that drive growth, not channel specific. I don't have ownership of the channel partnerships at Zendesk. So if you're all disappointed, you can, walk out now. Speaking at a mall, I feel like there's the Tiffany, the 1980s like pop star who had her one-hit wonder in a series of malls. So I'm sure that this video is going to go viral, and I'll be playing Westfield malls around the world. So technology partnerships, dark arts, who came because they thought this was going to be like a Harry Potter kind of conversation? Anyway, a couple, again, you may be disappointed. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about these dark arts. So it's a World Cup year. I am a disappointed US soccer fan. So part of my therapy is weaving in soccer to this presentation. In terms of just who's in the room, so are folks focused primarily on channel? Raise your hand if you're channel, like reseller focused. Do you also, who has technology partnerships? Okay, decent number. And in terms of size of company, let's say less than 100 employees and more than 1,000. Okay, so we have a good mix of all those here. All right, so the dark arts from a soccer perspective is like defense doing secretive, tricky things to gain an advantage, whether that's pulling a shirt, stepping on a toe, whatever, somehow otherwise preventing the offense from doing what they want to do. So when talking with Stephen and talking with Kevin about this, this is, it's really, if you're not a soccer fan, it's okay. I see people leaving there in the back. This is really pro tips in terms of if you are looking to partner with a publicly traded software company. I think a lot of what's in here will be useful. Recently met with one of our key partners and a senior exec there who walked in and he basically was like, he's on the GM of a large business for them. He doesn't work closely with technology partners, but he's like, I don't know exactly what we want to do, but we know partnering's hard, and we know we can only partner with a couple companies, and customer service is important to the sector that he's in, and we know we want to partner with Zendesk. And just kind of like figure it out with my team, but I think that notion of partnerships are hard, particularly in a SaaS model where so much is direct. Some of the channel folks in this room have figured out ways to create opportunity and growth through resellers and referral partners, but so much of SaaS, I think in most cases 90% or more of SaaS is a direct business. And so how do you build these technology partnerships that tells a better together story? We have a small team that's dedicated to technology partnerships, and at least once a week, either an email comes in or one of the sales reps refers a customer who wants to work with us and says, how do we partner with Zendesk? Or existing partners say, how do we do more with Zendesk Technology Partners team? So just level set. People in the room, raise your hand if you know who Zendesk is. Okay, that's good. We were at Shop Talk in Las Vegas, which is a mix of startups and large retailers. And I was amazed at the number of people who had no idea who we were. But just kind of quick summaries. So founded in 2007 by 3 Danish guys who are still deeply involved in the business, including our CEO, Mikkel. We have over 2,000 employees. I think it's probably 2,200 employees now. We did our earnings call today that went really well, but I didn't get an update on paid customers. But as of yesterday, it was 119,000. From my standpoint, I've been at Zendesk about 3 years. It'll be 3 years in August. I was at a fintech startup doing BD there at mobile payments before Zendesk. I've worked at really small companies. I've worked at really large companies. I think some of the beauty of Zendesk is a quirky culture that invests in people, invests in athletes, and creates opportunities. Sunir talked this morning about partnerships in sales or marketing or product. This is really, we focus a lot on product and filling gaps in our product strategy. Some of that then flows through into sales because it helps the sales team be more productive because we take objections off the table. And we also have partners who can amplify our marketing efforts, marketing messages. From a product standpoint, Zendesk is more than just support at this point. That's obviously what most people know us for. But as of October 2016, we've kind of rebranded the Zendesk support product as Zendesk Support. We acquired a chat company. We built a voice product on top of Twilio. We acquired a Y Combinator company last year that does cross-channel messaging that we've rebranded as Connect and is more proactive customer service. And then we have a help center product that is called Guide that we are infusing a bunch of machine learning into and really driving self-service for customers. From the Zendesk standpoint, we believe in a best-of-breed software world, and so we need partnerships to do that. Wait for it. Nope, this. So this is a stack, representative stack from one of our customers. And this is not saying that we've got robust partnerships with all the companies on these slides. In fact, we compete with some of the companies on this slide. But as Zendesk moves up market and starts having larger deployments, again, didn't see what the number was in our earnings call today, but it's roughly 40% of our revenue comes from accounts with more than 100 customer service agents, which Gartner deems enterprise. And so as we're doing more solution selling, it's really important for our solution consultants who are sales engineers and our sales AEs to understand how does Zendesk fit into the broader company platform. What are the other systems of record or systems of interaction that we're touching? How can we make the customer service team heroes? And that's really been a key piece of what's made Zendesk successful is this emphasis on customer service agents, making those individual agents more productive as well as their managers. As we think about building software and building, in particular, software ecosystems, I really like this contrast of old feudal systems where there's a lot of taxes involved, and then a new, more modular way of building. So you've got this, home prefab home on the right that looks beautiful and is a great setting. The place on the left is gorgeous, but again, you think about kingdoms and the taxes that those kings like to extract. That's not how Zendesk thinks about building partners. Some of the companies we compete against, that's definitely the way that they think about it. They think about how can they extract as much money and as much value out of their partners as possible. For us, it's really about building solutions that are great for customers and work better together for the customer. In most instances, we do not have commercials. We have we have over 700 apps in the apps marketplace that Zendesk runs. Some of the partners charge for apps there. We don't take any revenue share of that. The only thing we charge for is a connector between our telephony partners and Zendesk, which we charge to the end consumer because we feel like there's value being created there. But this is a really great and important notion to us in terms of open networks, standards-based software. You'll see in the Zendesk apps marketplace competitors there or people who are offering solutions that we do. We have the voice product that I mentioned before, and then we've got over 40 CTI partners, so folks like TalkDesk and 8x8, Five9, as well as connectors to a host of other telephony solutions. Intercoms in our apps marketplace. Bubble IQ is a startup out of Colorado that's in that built a connector to Slack that is doing really well, and that's something that we actually just launched an EAP of a Slack Zendesk connector. So we pride ourselves on delivering customer choice. In terms of like this next kind of set is a bunch of do's of things you can do to succeed in a marketplace or an ecosystem that looks like Zendesk. Some of this is you might walk away and say like, oh yeah, well of course, and particularly on the don'ts. You say, oh, of course I would never ever do that, but the don'ts are real life stories that me and my team have lived over the last couple of years. So from a personnel standpoint, so this is a picture of some US soccer players who will not be at the World Cup this summer, sadly. I think the biggest thing is know motivations, understand like the company that you're trying to partner with, what is the team's motivations, do they have revenue goals, what are the KPIs that they're measured upon. From my team standpoint, we're measured on usage, and so how many customers are using the app, what's the associated attributable MRR from those installations. If you were to go and look at Zendesk's website, the big emphasis is on channel partners because that's where we're trying to recruit more, and that's a harder thing to crack the nut on, I think. We have, again, over 700 apps in the apps marketplace. We get a lot of inbound demand, and so it's less about finding new, and it's more about maximizing the impact of the ones that we have. So if you look at our website, we don't have a lot of materials recruiting new partners. That doesn't mean that something there doesn't exist. It's almost like a cobbler's children story. But we have a great set of 50 to 80 software partners that we're pushing deals to all the time because our team really looks at trying to do three things for Zendesk. One is fill gaps in the product, so using our APIs to extend and eliminate any feature functionality gaps that are out there. Second is helping the sales team win deals faster. And third is having partners who can amplify our marketing messages as well as delivering best-of-breed proof points. So that's kind of how we view our value inside of Zendesk. From the ecosystem standpoint, we really, it's a cheesy analogy, but I think it works, is we try to be the easy button. So if you saw 16 offices across a bunch of continents. If we've got a partner who's trying to track someone down in the EMEA office, my team can do that. If they're trying to figure out status of a deal, we can help them track that down. And a lot of the way we do that is enablement through our sales engineers. So whether that's detailed partner profiles we write up or hosting lunch and learns. We have a Slack channel that has heavy usage there. But really, from your standpoint, if you're trying to spin up a new partnership, understand the motivations, look at the website, look at the blog posts, look at PR, like who else has Zendesk or fill in the blank of your target company partnered with before. Like reach out to those people and figure out what's worked, what hasn't worked. As I'm sure you're having conversations here today in terms of with partners around, or with other peers around what's worked, what hasn't worked with various software companies. I think like a big piece is, so this is a great TIFO from Portland, is customer stories. Like when frequently startups come to us and say, hey, how can we do more with you? Our first thing is like, do you have an integration? Yeah, great, we're in the apps marketplace. The second is get customer stories, right? Soccer teams play better when they've got full stands like this of very animated, intense supporters. And when we've got customer stories, it's a great way of Zendesk plus partner, target partner is delivering value. It confirms that. It's something that we can run a blog post around. It's something that we can showcase internally to either sales execs or customer success people who are in front of customers or those sales engineers. So the customer stories, you can't put enough of a premium on that. And a lot of the times you say that and somebody's like, okay, great, we can do that. And then they walk away and you never hear from them again. Like getting a customer to give you a quote on record is obviously a great test, and getting that testimonials are really important. So polite stalking. Like this is definitely, there's a fine line between polite stalking and just aggressively stalking. So on the left, that would be an example of not appropriate behavior. And there's examples where, partners have tried to track us down for 6-9 months, and for whatever reason, it just wasn't right. And then every 30 to 60 days, they're reaching out on email or shoot a text message or shoot an article that they thought might be interesting. And I guess the point is you can't lead a horse to water. Like you can make your value proposition, you can make the pitch, but sometimes you just need that persistence, and that it's a fine line, but that kind of gentle stalking, polite stalking can be useful. Ask how you can help. Again, like blind and glimpse to the obvious. Any networking, relationship building thing would highlight that. But it's something that a lot of partners don't do. And I can definitely recall the partners who every time I talk to them, they're like, hey, this is awesome. Thank you so much. You're really helping us network in the EMEA sales team or the APAC sales team. What can we do to return the favor to Zendesk? And I think just asking that, even as a startup, I think it's good practice. So one is not enough. You can see this poor lonely fan contrasted with what we saw earlier. So this is around when you get a relationships. Like if you're like, oh yeah, we're great, we're all set with Zendesk. I know Billy. Well, like, what if I quit tomorrow, right? What if for people change, executives change, and I no longer have the juice to get things done or get you prioritized in our go-to-market promotion? I think it's helpful to have a business person and a product person. We've had some instances where we had a relationship with a product team, but not a business team, and the product team said, oh yeah, we're going to build you a connector, and then it fell off their radar, and there was no one holding them accountable and no one driving follow-through there. In the same stance on the business side, we had a really robust partnership with one company, and we continue to have that with them, but we got to the point where we needed to do some renegotiation on something, and my two best, deepest connections were, one had left the company and one was out on leave, and it just put us in a really tough position from a negotiation standpoint, because you didn't have someone on the other side of the table that you had that faith with, that you had that trust built up with. So one is not enough. Like definitely go out and try to build connections, preferably in different functional groups, just to get that different perspective. All right, so here's the things not to do. So first off, so this is the magic spray for any soccer fans out there. The defenders can't go over that for a free kick. So again, blinding glimpse to the obvious, but keep some distance. We have an annual conference. There was a sponsor at this annual conference who really wanted to get in front of our sales team. And I guess you could say in soccer, he crossed the line in kind of normal everyday parlance. He invaded my ATM space. In the first 30 seconds, he's just up in your face. And what he wanted, and he had a whole bunch of complaints of why we sucked, which was great to get the feedback. But his thing was he wanted to get in front of our sales team, and what could he do to get the sales team to sell for him? And that's just not the way, back to knowing your personnel, that's just not the way our partner teams function or work. And when I was like, yeah, it's not really the way we do it, he's like, okay, well, who runs North American sales? Is she here? What's she wearing? It was very, very aggressive. Again, you're probably like, oh yeah, I would never do that, but it's a good thing to remind. So these guys look like good soccer fans, right? So no, they don't. They look like horrible hooligans. So measure your follow-up, right? So what I mean by this is we've had instances where companies have come in, startups have come in, done a great presentation, really good energy, and then the follow-up is either non-existent, which is terrible, or, and I want to quote this, as a follow-up item that was not discussed in the room at all, but was listed in the email. Introduction to be made to your head of sales in Europe to discuss incentives for your sales team to push our product. it's an interesting concept for like a 40-person company. Again, it's just not something we do. Like we have, Zendesk has very aggressive growth goals. We have a hard enough time hitting our own growth goals. We're not going to push someone else's product. So to write that in email potentially risks blowing up all the goodwill and good momentum and energy that you've just achieved. So in my view, that's somewhere between naive and really, really obnoxious. This partner was fortunate in that we viewed it as really naive, and we gave him a second chance, but it's something there you can very easily fuck up what is otherwise a good relationship and good partnership. This guy. So we couldn't find someone who was in soccer to really encapsulate this guy. Who out there likes shopping for used cars? Anyone? You do it on the weekends, sir? Yeah, cool. Then I will connect you with this guy, Aaron. No, it's no problem. So the first conversation I have, again, like networking 101, relationship 101, right? Figure out what's useful to the other person. First phone conversation I have with this person, within the first 5 minutes, I think they're like, what do I have to do today to get you to move this partnership forward? And I was like, this is the first conversation we're having, like just, slow your roll there a little bit. And he's like, I'm not trying to get dinner, I'm just trying to get drinks. And I was like again, this is not going anywhere good. You're better off just shutting up right now. So the web development team that was sitting around me really enjoyed that conversation as I explained to him that this was not going forward in the way he wanted it to. Subsequently, same guy then issues a press release about a week later, highlighting amongst his partners Zendesk. Anyone who's worked at a public company knows that your communications and PR team at a public company are going to be very, very uncomfortable with that. So when we saw this, PR team's like, oh, should I reach out to this guy? I was like, no. You should get as much anger and frustration as you can before you get on the phone with him, and then just verbally abuse him, please. So there was the used car sales guy who, again, if you want to do a press release with a larger company, get their buy-in. Some companies are very particular about that and won't do it at all, and some are happy to do it. Sepp Blatter, who's been enriched dramatically over the years through the World Cup. Don't call my CEO. If things aren't going the way you want them to, your best bet is to pick up the phone and/or have an in-person meeting. Folks who and both larger and smaller companies who, for whatever reason, aren't getting what they want out of it. My CEO does not give a shit about your partnership. He hasn't met you. He doesn't care. And I say that in the best way possible. It's not. He's got many other things to worry about. A disgruntled partner calling him is only going to annoy him and annoy me and my team. So it's not something that happens often, but it's happened a couple times in the last 6 months, and it's worth highlighting. Think about what the objective is and what the outcome that you're trying to drive. And if you have a relationship with Mikkel, great, by all means, contact Mikkel. But if you've only sent Mikkel emails and not met him in person, this is not an effective means of getting his attention or of making longer-term progress with the Zendesk Alliances team. Chasing launches. This is an animated GIF with monkey in the middle, and he's chasing the ball. Just imagine it. This is something I think that is really tempting when a large company comes to you and is like, oh, we're doing this launch, and Zendesk has done it to small partners as well, and we try to make it as valuable to them and as impactful to them as possible. But if you get a chance to be mentioned on stage with one of the 5 horsemen, and you get, their CEO is going to be introducing a product, and oh, you guys really want to be here. It can be really good, but it can also be incredibly distracting and incredibly disruptive to your product team. So I think it's something you really want to think about, and the more you can be deliberate about what your objectives are in terms of the product gaps you're trying to fill, how that's going to influence marketing, how that's going to impact your sales, the better off you'll be. So that's the quick recap on the dark arts. That's me. So that's what I got.
Hi there.